Hey there YouTube subscribers, welcome to Reality Fighter TV and another video tutorial on strategies, tactics, and technique tips for the week for MMA. Today's video tutorial is going to be talking about the theories and philosophies and applications to the famous ground and pound skill set that is very common in martial arts and in mixed martial arts competition. If you're somebody who studies mixed martial arts on a regular basis or practices any form of martial arts and you use the ground and pound skill sets in your practice, this is a video that you don't want to miss in here. So make sure you watch the entire video all the way to the end, because I'm going to try to give you some helpful tips and talk to you about some of the advantages and disadvantages when practicing the ground and pound skill sets. Okay, the ground and pound skill sets are a very important skill set that you need for mixed martial arts competition. Now, depending upon the rules and the organization that you fight under, certain limitations on the rules are going to play a role in whether you can be an effective striker on the ground. Now, what does it mean to be an effective striker using ground and pound skill sets? An effective ground and pound skill sets, in my opinion, are skill sets that basically cause immediate damage as soon as possible from all various types of positions. From my opinion, there's a lot of mistakes that I believe are made when practicing ground and pound skill sets in the gym or your dojo, and then are a direct result and a negative effect in a fighting scenario. For example, a lot of fighters, when they practice ground and pound skill sets, a lot of them do not practice delivering them from their back positions, ultimately from like guard positions or when they're mounted. And therefore what ends up happening is, from what I witness, is that they're very ineffective when it comes to delivering force upward in here. Okay, and it's not the easiest skill set to actually, by any means to master, but it is a skill set that I believe is very neglected when it comes to delivering, punches and elbows and things of that nature. So striking from your back is a very important skill set that you need for MMA, and you must be effective, within the rules and, obviously, the equipment that you train under. The other issue I see with ground and pound skill sets is that when they practice them from a top position, like a mount position in here, something like this, a lot of times what ends up happening is fighters will throw an infinite amount of techniques in here, raining down punches in here like this, and ultimately usually not very effective at all right? And what I mean by not being effective is that the fighter doesn't get knocked out, or the referee doesn't stop the fight because the fighter is able to weather the storm per se, and escape, get up to his feet, or he's able to, the bell saves him here. So a lot of fighters, in my opinion, when I watch a lot of this on television, are raining down a lot of arm kind of swatting type punches in here like this. Okay, using very minimal amount of body weight transfer in here like this, and ultimately a lot of times they won't hit in a very good line of force. And for those of you who already follow me and already subscribe to my channels in here, and you've seen many videos that I've talked about one of the effective and most important striking principles that you need to master if you're going to be effective with any technique, and that is the line of force principle, which is the specific functional trajectory for a technique. It's the specific functional trajectory. So whether you're throwing straight punches in here like this, or throwing circular punches in here, or throwing elbow type techniques, or hammer fist in here, there's one best line of force that you want to follow and master depending upon the position that you're finding in. And this is what I find that a lot of fighters miss when it comes to delivering a ground and pound techniques. They often practice it. They practice it, in a way that they want to feel like they're hitting hard in here. But ultimately, the reality is that in order for you to hit hard, you can't just, you have to be able to throw your body weight. You have to be able to use your body weight, in an effective way, and you have to be, putting your skeletal muscular structure in a strong structural alignment here, so it can transfer all the kinetic energy down into the target and not leak out in here. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the effective principles that I have found are very useful that I want to share with you if you want to be effective or more effective with your ground and pound striking. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the common mistakes that are often made in practicing ground and pound striking, and then let's go ahead and get into the principles that make an effective strike, whether you're on the ground on the top position or the bottom position. Now, a lot of fighters, practice in the gym. They may practice, hitting a bag in here like this, or a heavy bag, which is fine. All right, that's why I brought out 2 in here. Or you might use what you call a BOB, a body opponent bag made by Century Martial Arts. You can go on centurymartialarts.com and get one of these things. I like both. All right, some fighters may want to hit the bag in here, like this, because it's a lot of resistance, so they feel like they're hitting hard, as opposed to the BOB, it's rubber in here, there's a lot more give, so it doesn't feel like you're delivering a lot of impact. But I like using the BOB to start out with first, because it gives me a reference point when I'm using the skull in here and the body anatomy in here, so it gives me a kind of a better way to at least teach and explain, the accuracy of kind of what has to happen. But irregardless, both of them are effective. When you start using the BOB, when you start, we start getting the grappling positions in here, it kind of seems more realistic. There's at least a head to hang on to in here, even though it doesn't have arms. I can kind of at least grab a shoulder in here if I want to pull up on it and deliver a technique. So kind of an advantage there when it comes a little more realistic feel using the BOB. But I'm going to go ahead and get this guy out of the way first in here. We're going to start with the BOB first. Easiest way to do this in here, at least explain this, is to start from a mount position in here. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into those specifics about mounting. All right, because most of you guys know that in here, but you want to have a strong base, obviously, in here, right? You don't want to be, too forward in here and sitting back in here. I'm going to pinch my knees together. I like to be on my balls of my feet like this, not sitting in here like this. So I'm basically sitting on his kind of pelvis line in here, right? Kind of driving my, knees into his arms in here, right? Just kind of make believe his arms are up. Now, again, probably the most important mistakes and disadvantages to training when you're delivering a ground and pound strike in here is to swat with your techniques. I see a lot of fighters when they're training strength conditioning on ground and pound, right? There are a lot of times I see them, they're hitting way out like this, right? They're throwing hook punches in here, what looks to be like a hook punch in here, right? And often a lot of times what happens is they're not even hitting in a very good line of force, like a curling action in here like this, right? A lot of times they're hitting with the thumb in here, joint like this. And so they're kind of doing like a cable fly, which is not a very strong exercise or movement to do. Your pecs are not very strong muscles in here, and they have they're not a primary mover, when it comes to, bringing the arm across the body in here like this. They do have some value to it in here, but a lot of fighters will swat the punches in here, and they'll throw bigger motions because that's the way they have to get more momentum in order to accelerate and get more power in here. Okay, their elbow off a lot of times is straight out in here like this. So if you look at this in here, right, one of the examples of a poor line of force is I'm throwing the technique and my arm is straight and I make contact like this. So even though I may, I hit kind of hard in here and hit him in the head, with my knuckles and a 4-ounce glove on, my forearm is not in the power line that I would be driving to, right? So if I'm trying to deliver a circular type action, the line of force through this action in here needs to be more of a hooking type action like this. So my forearm and my wrists and my knuckles are going through the target in this fashion, going through this way in here like this. Okay? Now, depending upon how high you are and how low you are is also going to play a role. So if you're sitting back like this, a lot of fighters will do, because they don't want to get hit, they're out here doing stuff like this, just trying to reach the guy. And look again, my arm is straight out in here, not in a very good line of force. Okay? So depending upon the angle of my upper body, all right, you have to be able to use some weight transfer when it comes to delivering downward techniques. And the primary form of weight transfer that you're going to use is inclination, right? Rocking of the spine forward like this, okay? And most of your power is going to come through torquing, not of the hips, like a traditional hook standing on your feet, but it's going to be coming through the thoracic here, the T-spine coming through like this. You have to have some weight transfer coming through. Right? So disadvantages, primary disadvantages is not following a good line of force in here, right? Swatting type actions, even trying to come over the top. You'll see a fighter trying to throw downward punches in here, right? Often I would recommend to throw more cross type punches like this, okay, where the forearm is in a strong line like this. But a lot of fighters will come a swatting type, kind of Donkey Kong here like this. And again, I'm swatting in here like this. So my skeletal structure is not in a good, bench press line like there in here. Okay, so that's number one. Number two mistake is often telegraphing their strikes. So this is kind of happens just inevitably when people throw circular blows, is they bring their arms outside of their guard in here, right, and swatting type in here like this. And for a fighter who has got horrible defense and horrible counter, striking skills from their back, why do I need, I don't really need, I can telegraph all I want, but I'm assuming worst case scenario in the training in here, right, that this person, as I start to go like this, he may counter me. So telegraphing in here and throwing wide loopy punches, all right, following not a very good line of force and not, transferring your body weight effectively are the common mistakes in all MMA ground and pound striking. Okay, so I just showed you the common disadvantages when delivering ground and pound strikes from a mount position. The same principles I want to show you apply from the side control position. Okay, you still have to be in a strong position to transfer your weight, and you still have to be following, a functional, power line in here. Okay, also known as the line of force again, right? So there's some limitations, obviously, striking in the side control position, right? So for camera purposes, I'm going to use my right arm in here, right? So some of the common mistakes I see, again, is, they're flattened out on the guy like this, right? And then what happens is they got the guy neck hooked like this to keep him in control, right? So if you can see this in here, and then what's happening is they'll take whatever free arm they got, and they're trying to reach across their body and deliver a technique in here. This almost has zero effect, and to me it's just a waste of time to even do this in here like this. Okay, the better choice to do this is to free up the arm that you think that you need to hold on to this guy's head so bad so he can't get away, and you need to get up on your knees. Okay, nobody's going to be able to deliver effective striking from down here. Sometimes fighters will do stuff like this again, right? If the guy's arm is blocked and pushing you away in here, right, it's going to be very hard to deliver. Again, I'm just arm punching in here, so it's the strengths of my shoulders in here, my rotator cuff in here, and my traps in here like this that get, and my bicep that allows me in here like this. And this is why you see fighters try to find all kinds of ways to hit the guy in here, because they're gassing out in their arm because they can't deliver any power. So a better way would be to get up on your knees in here, okay, and to pull this guy in and literally drop your elbows down on the guy and hold him, from a functional position like this, okay, what I usually call like a V-shield or just a shield concept in here, right? And the advantage of doing this is here, I got good control over him in here. I don't care about holding his head right now, I care about striking him. But the advantage of it is I can deliver a very quick strike to this guy's head. So this is the arm that's closer in the side control position, right, on this side. And if I were to flip around, it would be this arm. So a good example of following a good line of force would be pulling this technique up and just delivering a cross, down here like this, right, in here. Inclining my body a little bit, getting this forearm turned in here, or it could be a vertical jab, right, or a cross in here like this, okay, right. The other thing would be too is I can do the same mechanics by delivering here, just delivering an elbow, driving down here like this, right. Now if you notice when I do this in here, I drop my body weight slightly ahead, then I accelerate. What a lot of fighters will do is if they may, from this video, they may take the line of force principle and start applying it into their arsenal, but they'll go like this. They'll raise up and then just arm punch like this. And often what happens is that unless you have really good strength and striking strength and accelerating in close range, a lot of people can't hit consistently hard in the same line of force. So they'll punch a couple times and they'll start looping the punch, because that's the natural tendency of the shoulder in here, is to throw like this, not necessarily to come straight out in here. So you have to train this in here, right? So if I flip it around like this, from this angle, I have my knees wedging here real good, lowering my center of gravity, got my forearm, delivered, in this guy's throat in here like this, right? So that's another advantage of being right here, because I can just hit the guy right from here. The other arm in here can be down here pinching him in like this, with my knees wedging here up like this. But right here, all I have to do is just raise right up like this a little bit, whether it's an elbow or a fist, and just boom, deliver, right? An elbow, right there. There's a lot of body weight, right? Right here, my knee jammed into his head. There's nowhere for him to go. I can't do that when I'm sprawled out like this, trying to do stuff like this. So even though this may look effective, it's not effective when you're delivering 16, 17 elbow attempts or swatting type punches like here in a real MMA fight, and the referee doesn't stop the fight. Why doesn't it stop the fight? Because it's not effective, okay? You should be effective in the first couple hits. So get up on your knees in here like this, right? Come from here, or however you want to practice, but I recommend to be up here. Even if you got your wrapped up in here like this. If you're going to do it from here, pull your arm out and raise up, and I get that forearm in a straight line right from here. From here like this. No swatting type techniques. Okay? No, hammering from up here like this. Okay, if you're going to throw an uppercut from here, right, then it needs to be turned slightly upward like this. Like that. Okay? And it's going to be more of just your arm in here. Right? But I tend to like to, start out with more straight punches or downward motions like this when I first start teaching and practicing these techniques. So making sure that your forearm is in a nice strong structure, right, from this angle coming downward like this, right? Now you can reach up all the way and come over like this, right? But people are going to say, well, now you're going to lose in the grappling, and that's kind of beyond the scope of this tape. That yes, you are going to disconnect a little bit, you are going to lose some control, but if we're talking about a functional power line in here like this, you wouldn't just come over and swat in here. You would come up, right? So I'd be here, I'd raise up a little bit, protect myself, shift my weight over, and here like this, right? You want to throw a short, powerful strike, not a long one in here like that. Okay, you got to take into account, the guy's arms are in here. A lot of guys are trying to punch around the guy's arms, right, around it or through it, instead of just trapping his arms and just going right through it. Okay, so those are some of the common mistakes and how I would pursue striking from the mount and the side mount position. Another disadvantage or poor training style for ground and pound striking is you'll see people when they'll assume they got the bag or their opponent on the ground like this, and I haven't gone down with him yet, right? I'm up here, and this guy's on his back in his guard, and I'm trying to bypass his legs, right? So his legs are up in here like this, and I'm trying to, grab in here, and he's upward kicking me, right? So this is where somebody's grounded, and I haven't gone down with him, as opposed to I've grounded him to the ground, and I've ground fighting him now. So this would be ground fighting, ground survival in here, whether I'm mounting him or not in here. And up right here, this guy's in a ground defense position, and I'm going into attack mode in here. So a lot of times you'll see fighters do this in here, where they don't know how to get down on here very well, and they're afraid to go into the guy's guard, and they can't get around his legs. So what they'll do is they'll just throw a haymaker from here, and they'll try to do stuff like that, okay, again, or they'll just fall down or jump down here and try to just land on the guy like this. And my point of doing that is, again, they're following a really poor line of force. Not to mention, you're so out of position when you land, they're assuming that this one haymaker is going to create so much impact in here that the guy's going to be stunned for a moment, and they can just fall down however they want and then get on top of the guy. Okay, and again, my perspective is worst case scenario, you're not effective. All right, you miss, or he's blocked, or you land wrong in here, and he's able to capitalize from your mistake in here and get into a better position to take get you on a dominant position on the ground, where he's in a dominant position. So a better way to approach this in here, following a good line of force, would be not to be down here and trying to reach the guy. Okay, if you're going to practice striking from standing upright in here, is to get into a position where you'd be more functional, right, and practice delivering your techniques from here. So the same principles apply. I'm throwing a cross punch, down from here like this. Okay, notice I drop my body weight down in here like this. I'm not just standing up here trying to just reach the guy. This is horrible, but often it's some of the most best professional fighters do that. Okay, a better way to do that is to learn how to, from here, get close enough, get in range to where you can hit the guy in here like this. There's no reason why I can't squat down. And again, people are going to say, well, he can heel hook you, he can leg lock you. Yes, he can, right? But we're talking about practicing effective striking. All right, so you need to learn how to be able to do that. And the question is why fighters are out here trying to hit heavy bags like this. The other way to do it is to learn how to get into a position and go down on him in here and cause damage. So the way I like to do it, if his feeder is at 6 and he's at 12 in here, is I'm going to bypass his legs, trap his legs, and then take a very short route and then drop into basically a knee shield or a full shield, a ground shield, and slam my weight on this guy like this. All right? And then, deliver a technique from a knee-on belly position, right? Or the same thing would be to come this way and here, the same thing, bang, bang, get this leg in here real quick, jam his hip in here so he can't get out. And as I come down like this, I'm coming down from here, drive my knee, crunch right into his sternum, break his ribs in here, right? And then whatever I'm going to do, if his arms are sticking out, trap, right? Pow! Right? Or come down, bang, right? Lower my center of gravity, get down into a side position here, boom, right? Boom, boom, boom. In here, like that. All right? So, either way you look at it, whether it's from already being down here to being above him in here, doing stuff from here like this, or learning how to get down here, right, relatively quickly in here like that. Either way you slice it, I'm still trying to get into the proper distance where I can reach him with my strike effectively, where I can transfer my weight, where I can connect my arm to my body, right? At the same time, I'm also trying to put my skeletal muscular structure in a good, strong line of force. Again, where if I'm doing a bench press or a push-up here like this, right? You don't do push-ups or bench press coming from the center. You don't do skull crushers and think that it's a bench press, right? You're not out here real wide. So where your pecs, your shoulders, your lats, your back muscles, your traps all tie in here like this, right? This power line here should be the same, follow this almost the same basic template on the ground in here like this, and then adding weight transfer in here, right? So you want to practice those concepts from a wide variety of positions, right? And you want to practice it on a heavy bag. Again, you can, or a bob, right? One of the advantages I'll show you here with the bag is the bag's heavier than the bob, so you can get practice. You can get some more strength, endurance, and challenge by trying to move the heavy bag around a little bit, especially if you're from your back. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to do the same idea on a bag. Okay, so the same principles apply using a bag as opposed to any other object. So in this case, if you got a shorter bag in here, you may have to kind of sit back on a little bit, but the same thing applies in here, right? This bag happens to be about the width of a human head, so this is why I like to work with this one in here. But the same thing would apply. I would stay in my guard in here, and I'd practice getting my forearm in the trajectory that I want to throw, because I'm trying to punch through the person's head, not just to it. Okay, so I'm thinking about visualizing. When I'm hitting him in the cheekbone, I'm hitting him in the jaw, in here, temple. I'm punching across in here, right? The vector would be going this way, through here, right? Or this way. I'm not trying to punch from the center of my body like this. I'm punching across in here, right? And what I'm also doing is that I'm trying to get some rotation and as well as some inclination all at once from here like this. So if you're down on the ground in here, and you're holding him down here, trying to do stuff like this, right, in here,
right? Holding him with one arm, trying to punch from here, right? The same thing would apply. I'm just delivering it from closer in here. So I raise up a little bit, and the torque is coming from here, like that, right? Or if I'm throwing a hook, right? Coming at it from this angle here, throwing a hook. Down here, controlling the guy, get myself in a stable position, bringing my arm out a little bit, right? I'm trying to torque coming through here, right? So with the bag, you may have to hold it a little more because it's so narrow, depending on the size of it. This one I have to kind of squeeze it. It's so much narrower than the bobbin here, but the same thing. Boom, come out like this. Now I'm just doing this, right? Try to transfer, as if you're holding on to the guy, by the head or something like that, right? The neck, transfer your weight, right? Like this. Now, the same thing applies from your back. Now this is a lot harder and very neglected, but it should be practiced a lot. You have gravity working against you and you have minimal amount of weight transfer, especially when the guy's sitting on top of you. So if you use the bag, one of the advantages of using the bag is that, if it's heavy, it kind of resembles a person. So you can work with it at all different types of ways. You can kind of just pinch it like this, wrap it in your guard, turn on an angle in here, but find a way to hold it in here like this, okay? Head off the mat, and your form of weight transfer is inclination. Again, you've got to put the bag in the range for you. So if a guy's sitting way back like this, and his center of gravity is beyond the line of gravity in here, you shouldn't be trying to reach him like this. You should be getting a leg in and booting him off. But if his weight is transferred, his center of gravity is slightly forward in here of the line of gravity, right, this will work. So what you're going to do is, from here, is reach up and try to punch into the target this way. Try to rotate in the target this way and sit up here. Right? Try to drive through and pull it back. Don't sit back here and just try to do stuff like this. A lot of fighters will try to hook again, and they're basically trying to do a cable fly from up here. There's no power from here. Right? You have a lot less power on your back, but you need to be able to practice delivering the technique from your back too, so you can become a threat. Okay? So you want to work the same basic mechanics, finding that line of force. This will also get the strong abs to do this as well. So you can practice sitting up, right? Delivering a technique sitting down. And you're going to have to play around how you want to hold the bag in here, right? Like I could be leaning over like this, in here like this, but I can hold it. And I might be on this angle here and have to punch from here like this, right? So be creative, come up with your own variations on how to throw a real powerful strike on the ground with minimal telegraphing and minimal effort. So I hope you found that video informative. If you do, please give it a like, share it with your friends. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification, the little bell in the corner of your screen, and get the word out. And we'll see you next time on Reality Fighter TV for another strategy technique tip for the week for MMA. Thank you for all your support, and take care.